The satellite of the Earth, the Moon. The Moon is the only natural satellite of the Earth. It is our nearest neighbor in the space. The Moon has no light of its own. It shines because it reflects the light of the Sun, which falls on its surface. It is a sphere made of a rock, marked with craters. There are no plants or animals on the Moon because there is no air. The Moon is about 1/6 the size of Earth. It looks large in the sky because it is much closer than the stars. Surface of the Moon. Scientists have been trying to know many facts about the Moon and other planets. Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin were the first astronauts who landed on the Moon. After this, there have been many more visits to the Moon, and astronauts have tried to explore the whole of the Moon. The spacemen have brought back samples of rocks and photographs of the Moon. The surface of the Moon is not smooth. It has flat plains and high mountains. On a clear night, you can see dark spots on the Moon's surface. These dark spots are actually big hollows called craters. No life exists on the Moon. The reason is that the Moon has neither water nor air, and there is no atmosphere surrounding it. The temperature of the Moon is too high during the day and too low during the night. It is not suitable for living things. Thus, no sound can be heard, as sound needs a medium, such as air or water, to travel. Landing on the Moon. The American astronaut Neil Armstrong became the first man to set foot on the surface of the Moon on 20th July 1969. He was accompanied by Edwin Aldrin and Michael Collins on the Apollo 11 space mission. The spacecraft was launched from Kennedy Space Center in Florida, USA on 16 July 1969. The space mission collected rock samples from Moon and then returned to the Earth. Gravity of the Moon. The Moon travels in an orbit around the Earth. All the heavenly bodies attract each other by the force of attraction called gravity. The Moon's gravity is only 1/6 as compared to the Earth's gravity. If your weight is 60 kilograms on Earth, your weight will be only 10 kilograms on the Moon. Also, if you can jump 1 meter high on the Earth, you will be able to jump 6 times higher, that is, 6 meters on the Moon. This is due to weak gravity of the Moon as compared to the Earth's gravity. Tides due to the Moon. When the surface of the sea rises, there is a high tide, and when the surface of the sea falls, it is a low tide. The high tide and low tide occur once in every 24 hours. The gravity of the Moon influences the sea and ocean water, causing high and low tides. As the Moon revolves around the Earth, its gravity acts on the Earth, pulling both the solid parts of the Earth and also its water. The pull exerted on the water is greater than the force on the solid Earth. So, water on the side of the Earth facing the Moon is pulled towards the Moon. This forms high tide on this side of the Earth. At the same time, the Earth itself is also pulled slightly towards the Moon. This causes a high tide on the opposite side of the Earth. Between these two high tides, the water level in the ocean is lowered because the water has moved to the regions of high tides. So, the water in these regions forms low tides. Moonshine. Although the Moon appears to be very bright, it has no light of its own. It reflects light from the Sun. Sometimes the Moon is lit up by sunlight reflected from the Earth. This is called Earthshine. The Moon's phases. As the Moon orbits the Earth, the light from the Sun shines on different parts of its surface. This makes the moon appear to change shape. We call these phases of moon. The moon's orbit. The earth orbits the sun and the moon orbits the earth. Both the earth and the moon spin as they orbit. The moon takes approximately 27.3 days to orbit the earth. We call this a lunar month. The word month comes from the word moon. Changing phases. When the side of the moon facing us have no sunlight shining on it, we can't see it. We call a new moon. When the sun lights all the sides of the moon facing the earth, we call it full moon. The moon takes the same time to spin on its own axis as it does to orbit the earth. This means that we only ever see one side of the moon. As we see more of the surface lit up, we say moon is waxing. The moon is waning when the lit surface starts to get smaller. Eclipses. The revolution of the moon around the earth, the rotation of the earth, and the revolution of the earth around the sun causes eclipse on the earth. Sometimes the sun, the moon, and the earth lie in a straight line, and the sunlight is blocked by the earth or the moon. As a result, the earth or the moon casts its shadow. The casting of the shadow is known as eclipse. Lunar eclipse. When the earth comes between the sun and the moon, the shadow of the earth falls on the moon. In this case, the lunar eclipse occurs. A lunar eclipse happens only on the night of a full moon. When the earth's shadow covers the moon completely, then it is called total lunar eclipse. If the earth's shadow covers the moon partially, then it is said to be partial lunar eclipse. Solar eclipse. Sometimes the moon casts its shadow on the earth when it comes in between the sun and the earth. In this case, it is called the solar eclipse. A solar eclipse happens during the new moon phase. When the sun cannot be seen at all, it is called total solar eclipse. If only a part of the sun can be seen, then it is called partial solar eclipse. Artificial satellites. There are some man-made satellites which revolve around the earth. These man-made satellites are called artificial satellites. The first artificial satellite was Sputnik-1, which was sent to the space by Russia in 1957. After that, many countries have been launching artificial satellites into the space. India has also launched many satellites into the space. Artificial satellites play a vital role in many ways. Some artificial satellites, called communication satellites, are used for television and radio transmission and for sending telephone signals. Some satellites, called weather satellites, are used to study and forecast the weather. Some satellites are used to get information about natural resources on the Earth. These satellites send photographs of the Earth from the space. Some satellites are used to gather information about stars and other planets.